Alright, and what is going on, everybody? Quancredible here to bring you the review for Black Clover Chapter 263. Now, this chapter was like you want to talk about an info dump. Like you want to talk about like between last chapter and this chapter, if you want to talk about information dump, there's so much to go through here. So I'm going to try to condense it as quickly as possible so this does not take a long time. And like with like a chapter like this, I didn't even look like of course I seen the pictures for the spoilers, but I didn't even get into like what people's translations of it were, just because like I needed this information like correct the first time, so I didn't even want to know. So basically, we get the continuation of Noct and Asta popping up at the captain's meeting. And of course, everyone is immediately hostile because at first glance, no one appears to know who he is. But then Noct, he does a spell that like manifests like four smaller, or not smaller, but four like devil bodies. Apparently, according to Asta, there were more devils, and then he like kind of holds them back a little bit. Now with this, I don't think he has multiple devils inside of him. I think these are just like part of Gimadello's thing. Like I think this has something to do with his ability, and I also believe this to be some type of actual attack or spell, just because like even though he didn't say anything, I feel like Tabata is being what's the word, I feel like Tabata is withholding information about Noct on purpose, because like we haven't seen the symbol on his grimoire yet, even throughout this entire chapter, and he hasn't really said necessarily his spells, even though they kind of seems like shadow magic. But I think it might be something a little bit more, like something involving his devil or something along those lines. Like he's just being, like Tabata's just being overly cautious with information on Noct. So I feel like there's definitely something else there. And there's even more about him that I'll get into further along in this in the review. So nobody knows who he is except for Julius. Julius notes, also this is Julius's first time speaking throughout the entire meeting, which is crazy. He didn't say anything all of last chapter, and he really didn't say anything else in this chapter either. But yeah, Julius is like, yeah, this is the vice captain of the Black Bulls, but he didn't know he was a devil host, which means that like him becoming a devil host must have been somewhat recent. Even the other people don't like really know who he is. The only person who recognizes him is Jack. Jack remembers seeing him and Yami back in the Gray Deer, I think it was called, like back then when Julius was still in it. So he knows who he is, but the thing is, he says, but you're magic, and then he stops, and then Noct just like, that man is gone. So that little bit right there was so much, because it's like Julius didn't even know he was a devil host, which means that the entire time that Julius knew him on that squad, that's not who he was. So this has to be, I don't want to say somewhat recent, but definitely more recent. I don't know if it happened right before he started investigating in the Spade Kingdom or shortly afterwards, but it has to be pretty recent, because I feel like Yami has not been a captain for that long. Like Noct becoming a devil host has to be somewhat recent to the story, because like I want to say Yami's either 27 or 28, while William is either only 24 or 25. And we know that Rill was the youngest person to become a captain at the age of 19. So like at the very least, at bare minimum, if we say since William is old, like since Yami and William became captains at the exact same time, which means that at the bare minimum, William had to be no younger than 20, since Rill was the youngest at 19. So William had to be no younger than 20 when he became a captain. So like that's at least 4 or 5 years. So him becoming a devil host has to have been within the past 4 or 5 years for Julius to not know about it, unless he was somehow keeping it a secret the entire time he was on Julius' squad, which I feel just it wouldn't make any sense. That'd be really unrealistic to me, that Julius or no one else would have noticed until then. And the fact that his magic was completely different back then, apparently. And the fact him saying that man is gone, to me, I really feel like the result of him getting a devil had some kind of effect on his magic. This also ties back to how the Dark Triad members have 2 types of magic. I don't think that's the case with him, seeing as he said that man is gone now. So like I feel like this is Noct's only magic, is what his devil can do. But like almost like Noct, as well as like I feel like this was like Tabata's strategy to use Noct to push the story along, because he's like, now we're short on a time, and Noct just like throws out all these papers just right onto their table, and like these papers look very similar to the ones he got while he was in the estate when we first seen him, and he's like running down the entire plan for them. So basically what's going on here is the Spade Kingdom at their castle is basically underway, or not underway, but undergoing preparations for their the ritual to basically open the gates to the underworld. Of course, William and Yami are going to be sacrifices in that. And from the looks of it, it looks like this like some kind of like circle or something where they're just going to be sacrificed. I'm not exactly for sure how they're just going to have them sit there. I'm pretty sure there's probably some kind of binding that they can do, or binding magic to keep them in place, because I'm not really for sure that like Yami will sit there quietly the entire time. I'm pretty sure he's going to at least try to escape or try to stop this in some way. And I don't even think William is going to take this like sitting down per se. I feel like William is the type of person where he'd probably try to kill himself to like not be used for their plan. I kind of feel like he'll try to do that. But basically, from this point on, the advent of Quillforth will, that's really hard to say, will begin to open up 7 levels going down until they get to the final level. And basically inside there's like 10 devils all matched around or in different spots, and like each level they get like stronger and stronger and stronger. And the craziest thing here to me is that the upper level ones are equal to the Dark Triad, where the lower level ones are even stronger. So it's like in the first gate, we're already getting people that are Dante and Xenon and Vanica's level, which is absolutely insane to me. And then of course at the final level would be where Dante's devil is, which is Lucifero. Now this part is kind of confusing because Lucifero is the one that is giving Dante his abilities, or not giving Dante his abilities, but he's making Dante more powerful. It almost makes me feel like Lucifero by himself, fully unleashed, is much stronger than say Dante at 100%, which is kind of weird to say because it's like Dante on top of using 100% of Lucifero's power, but you know, whatever. Then obviously Yami and William will be dead at the end of all this, but on the good side, Yami and William will not be dead until basically the final level is open. Like until they get to the very, very bottom, they will be alive. And it's really cool here because in this moment we get to see like how impressed Nozel is with him, saying like, oh man, this guy acquired all of this information in the most dangerous place all by himself. Like that's crazy. And it's also, we get to see a nice look into Nox's character, because so far Nox seems like he's really harsh and berating. Like he has a nice face, but he's kind of a jerk when you really think about it. Like if you look past his face, everything he says is really jerkish. So like we get to see that he really does have a dislike for like the unjust evil. Like he really does want to rid the world of people like this. He even says that if gods and devils forgive them, he won't. And like I feel like his words when he's saying this are like, they're definitely hitting different, because Asta turns around and looks at him. Like Asta is feeling something. Like Asta is picking up on how like dead serious he is about these kinds of things. Like this is a legitimate conviction that he carries. And then it's getting into the like the later parts of the chapter that are not weird, but like it's a mixture of kind of weird, and they bother me a little bit, because he says he's going to turn Asta into the ultimate warrior, because you know he has anti-magic, so he has the potential to do so. He says that 3 days from now the gates of the underworld will begin to open up, and that before that he wants to retake Yami and William and destroy the tree entirely, and that they're going to go on the offensive. Now it's just weird because he says 3 days from now, so that means, are the preparations for the Spade Kingdom going to like take place and then they're going to start to open it 3 days from now, or has it already started and they only have 3 days left? That's like the weird part. I feel like it's the first one I said, where they're just preparing and then 3 days from now they're going to start before it really like I feel like 3 days from now they're going to actually start it. That's what I think he means by that. Because it's almost a little weird, because in the beginning he says 7 days. It's going to take 7 days for it to open, and it almost seems weird that they wouldn't start immediately. But maybe the actual preparations take a while. I mean, you know, you are setting up for a dimension connecting, world opening portal, so I feel like there probably is a bit of prep time that you do need for that. And so that part was a little strange to me, just how it was worded. And then the other thing, turning Asta into the ultimate warrior. Now that just doesn't seem like a lot of time. It really doesn't. That does not seem like a lot of time at all. Like even if Asta had the full 7 days to train, it wouldn't be a lot of time. Like he had an entire 6 months to train, and this is as far as he got. Now obviously you can make the argument that Asta training is more of him kind of bumbling around and just trying to figure things out, since he doesn't have anybody to point him in the right direction, since there's no one who has previously been around that knows how his ability works. I mean, granted, yeah, you had Fonzo that taught him a little bit of sword fighting. You could even assume in a head canon-ish theory that Yami may have taught him a couple sword moves, and even with like Ki, Yami kind of showed him the basics, but for the most part, Asta's kind of been figuring everything out on his own. And you could say with like a mentor giving him some guidance and direction, he'll get way stronger. But it's like, how much stronger can having a mentor make you in those couple of days? Like, it's just one of those that bothers me with that. Unless they do the one shonen trope where they have like a area where space and time works differently, like take a hyperbolic time chamber, or that one area in Bleach, I forget the name of it. It was towards the end of it where Ichigo was able to train inside of his brain for like 2 years or something, but like it was like only like a day or something in real time. I forget the name of it. It was like in that last, or not the last arc, but it was in that Arankar arc when he came back to fought Aizen. But it was something along those lines. If we had something where time moves differently in this space, then I guess it would be okay. I mean, it's like a that would be okay. And then the other thing that bothers me is it doesn't leave a lot of time for like other people like mainly to get stronger, or even Noel. It's like, how are they supposed to be useful in this kind of fight when it happens so soon? Like, they don't have time to get stronger. Like I just said, everyone had 6 months to train to get stronger. So if they're not strong enough now, then like, how are they gonna be strong enough for it? And it's like the freaking upper levels are like equal to the Dark Triad, and Yami, who a lot of people would consider to be the strongest, if not in that top half of strongest captains. How are they all supposed to defeat devils that are that get even stronger? It's like, I almost feel like Tabata's gonna like have this slight power creep where everybody's just gonna just pop up being way stronger out of nowhere. So like, because honestly, if you have like Jack and Charlotte and freaking Rill defeating devils that are much stronger than Dante, it's gonna make Yami look mad weak. It's gonna make him look mad weak in these couple of days in story, or a few weeks for our time, if we just see these guys clapping devils stronger than Dante, which is weird to me. It's just weird. Like, I don't have a problem with it. It's just so strange that they would all just be stronger than him. So hopefully Tabata has a cool way of showing it off, or a decent way of making them stronger, or because like, I mean, strategies can only take you so far, and matchups can only take you so far. Like, you could even argue that Yami had a decent matchup against Dante but just couldn't kill him. Like, you could totally argue that. But even if they have good matchups against the people that they are facing, I don't know if they should just necessarily win off of just having a good matchup. But it is what it is on that one. Now, as for the one thing that I said last week where I wanted some Heart Kingdom info, I still feel the same. It just feels so weird to me that it hasn't been brought up in this meeting. Like, granted, you could argue that it's not important, or that they have to worry about the Clover Kingdom first, but at the same time, the Heart Kingdom was a direct ally to them in fighting against the Spade Kingdom. So like, mounting an assault force against the Spade Kingdom, I feel like you should at least include your allied Heart Kingdom involved in this. I mean, assuming everyone's still alive over there, which they should be, Gaja would probably be really useful here. I mean, because he seems like he's, he seems strong. Like, he seems like he'd be able to do something. But yeah, hopefully, like I said last week, hopefully we hear something from the Heart Kingdom eventually, because it seems like they might know about it, but might not know about it, because every time Noct envisions the Dark Triad, Vanaka's there too. So like, maybe he knows what happened in the Heart Kingdom, but everybody else doesn't. I'm not for sure. And then the only other thing that I'm worried about is how strong Asta would be at the end of this, because if he says he's going to turn Asta into the ultimate warrior, to be, because since he has anti-magic, he has the potential to do so. I'm just worried if Asta will be too strong after this. Like, I know it's like a silly thing to say, but like, if he becomes so strong enough to where he's able to defeat devils that are much stronger than captains and all that, he'll be way stronger than like everybody. So it just worries me for the future of Black Clover. Like, what threats can they make after this that will be like, that will be actual threats, unless you start getting, like, I know a lot of people speculate you can go into like the god and into the angels route, and like maybe they could have some type of abilities where magic doesn't affect them the same, or anti-magic does or does not affect them the same, which is all cool, but it's just something to think about for the future, for the world building of Black Clover. Is depending on how strong Asta gets here, could really directly affect the rest of the series and how it goes. But not getting too into that, I am really pumped up to see where the story is going. Like, I'd probably give this chapter like another 7.5 out of 10, just because the information was really exciting, and even with how mysterious the character of Noct is, I enjoy that a lot. Yeah, definitely a solid 7.5 out of 10 on this one. Let me know what you guys give it down below, how you guys are feeling about the invasion, or about Nox's backstory. I also want to know what you guys think about the whole like 3 days versus 7 days thing, where they say like, oh, in 3 days the gates are going to open, but it's going to take 7 days for it to open. So do they have 3 days before it open, or do they have 10? Or just let me know how you guys feel about that, because it was really wordy, so I want to know how other people interpreted it. Outside of that, make sure you guys like the video and sub to the channel. I definitely appreciate all the support. We are getting super close to 1,000, so I definitely want to hit that pretty soon. If we could get that by September, even the beginning of October, I'd be pretty happy. But I got nothing else for you guys, so I will catch you guys in my next video.